essentially what we'll see in Syria is like in Iraq, a loose federation with the Syrians having autonomy, the Alawites and the Christians having some form of autonomy, especially from Damascus onto the Mediterranean coast, and the Sunnis having a degree of autonomy in the rest of Syria. I think that's the eventual makeup of Syria, and whether Assad will have a role in that new kind of federation or not is not known, but I don't think we're going to see Assad leave the scene, as many people have called for, either moving to Russia or Geneva, Switzerland. I think it may happen, but it's not going to happen in the near term.
The United States is providing military assistance to PYG as terrorist organization because they think they are fighting with Daesh. With the idea of this, they are doing this. So for Turkey, don't you think it's normal to support the groups who is against the Kurds over there?
Well, you know, we know that President Obama and President Erdoğan have had a long association. As a matter of fact, Obama has said many times that he calls President Erdoğan to seek his counsel on Middle Eastern affairs, and he still does so. The thing is that the U.S. doesn't recognize the PYG as a terrorist organization. In fact, it recognizes them as an ally in the war against Daesh, and so they've been providing you know, training and assistance to these groups. Now, so that's the situation on the ground. I know Turkey fears that the Syrian Kurds are working with the PKK in Turkey, and that's an issue that can't be separated from what is going on in Syria. But it's certainly, I don't think, helpful. And of course, I'd love to be a fly on the wall when Obama discusses this subject with President Erdogan. I'm sure that you know, there's not an agreement on that issue, and ceasefires, but the ceasefires are always being broken by one side or another for one reason or another. And I think you know, this situation it could exist, you know, for years and years to come.
So, do you think the United States will keep supporting YPG in Syria against all odds?
I think the U.S. will continue to support the YPG because these military relationships between the Pentagon and the YPG are kind of set in cement right now. I don't foresee them changing.
It's like they're stepping back. I mean, they kind of, I read things in the United States media that they kind of stepping back from supporting the YPG over there, isn't it?
Well, they may be, but I think, you know, recognizing we have a U.S. presidential election where Donald Trump, who I would not underestimate, he is being underestimated. He said when he's president, he's going to kick, and he used some very how should I say, schoolyard language in saying what he was going to do to the Islamic State. But a Trump administration, I think he would probably use every avenue at his disposal to go after the Islamic State in both Syria and Iraq. And I think that we'd see an actual increase in U.S. military aid to Syrian Kurds if it were a Trump administration. If it is a Hillary Clinton administration, the situation is not going to differ much from what we see now with Obama, although there might be more of a strain in relations with Russia.
Sir, so we know that you're a former NSA agent. You know, United States, with the help of NSA, they are following the world and listening, you know, every kind of thing. before we made an interview with you before, and you gave us an example about the Chechen leader Dudayev,
yes.
Dudayev's death. Do you think, is there any other examples of this?
Oh, I mean, the NSA can be relied on, as we know with the Edward Snowden revelations. They can be relied on to listen to every foreign leader you could imagine, and not only leaders but politicians in all the various countries. On Dudayev was as a result of President Clinton wanting to help out then President Yeltsin of Russia in the war that he was fighting with the Chechens at the time. But I think it's a foregone conclusion that NSA was also listening to the phone calls of Gaddafi when he was in Sirte, and probably was able to triangulate his position in that city, and I think that probably ultimately led to the Libyan rebels identifying Gaddafi's military protected motorcade as it was leaving Sirte, and of course Gaddafi was caught and killed. So I think we can see a lot of examples of NSA eavesdropping on foreign leaders, where it ultimately, the eavesdropping is the information, the signals intelligence is handed over to ground forces, who then take they consider to be appropriate action. I don't think it is appropriate for the U.S. to assassinate or oversee the execution of any leader. It's actually against some U.S. law that was implemented by 3 presidents, President Ford, Carter, and Reagan. But that law is abused and violated all the time. So I think we probably can connect signals intelligence to the death of Muammar Gaddafi. And I'm sure Assad's communications are also routinely eavesdropped upon, and we do know that some of his senior military officials have been killed in airstrikes, and I'm sure NSA played a role in that as well.
So, you know, the Henry Kissinger, he visited Putin some time ago. Why do you think this happened? Why do you think he go to Putin?
Well, we should remember that when Obama first became president, he actually said that he was going to have Henry Kissinger as his personal envoy to the Russian leadership. And I don't think anything's changed. Obama's still president, and Kissinger, oddly enough, at his advanced age, is still active. And I think probably Kissinger went as part of that original deal with Obama, that he would act as his personal envoy to the Kremlin. And I was not surprised to see Kissinger go there. I am somewhat surprised that a guy who is wanted by many countries for being a war criminal, he's wanted in Chile, he's wanted in Argentina, and other countries, is still an American envoy. I believe Henry Kissinger belongs in The Hague and not discussing policy issues with Putin in the Kremlin.
So, on the other hand, the Obama's special envoy McGurk, he's being in contact with the YPG in Syria. What do you think he is dealing with them? What is he up to? What's your opinion about that?
Well, I think this is part of the whole operation to continue the support for the Syrian Kurdish opposition forces. So when you get somebody like this envoy, and you know, they say they're with the State Department, but I think people have to realize that a lot of these State Department envoys wear 2 hats. They also eventually wind up reporting to the CIA as well. That was certainly the case with Ambassador Chris Stevens in Benghazi, and I certainly think it's probably the same situation with McGurk in his dealings with the Syrian opposition forces. Well, there was an attempt a few years ago to cancel Fethulllah Gülen's residency permit, permanent residency green card, and it was fought against by the parts of the U.S. government thought to be the CIA. So that said, it looks like Gülen is protected at very high levels by the U.S. government. I don't expect extradition requests by Turkey to be honored in this case, and I think he will remain here and conduct his business. Of course, he's not a very public figure, you know, from Pennsylvania, where he has his private compound, but I don't think he's going to have any problems with the U.S. government, as we saw. There was a chance of that a few years ago. And we know that, you know, papers like Zaman have been taken over by the government and the Jihan news agency. And I think Gülen has his own lobbyists in Washington, especially Senator Bob Casey from Pennsylvania, where he lives. So I think that anything the Turkish government lobby does in Washington will be counteracted by Gülen's substantial lobby in Washington.